not according to the Scriptures. Stay tuned tonight as we examine this issue in light of the Word of God, examining the Scriptures and seeing what the future holds with regard to a nuclear holocaust. Will you have to be really concerned about the day after? Arnold Murray, my guest tonight on Amazing Grace. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
From the studios of NCN, welcome to Amazing Grace, featuring guests from all areas of the body of Christ. Our microphones are open, and we talk with people with beliefs both orthodox and unorthodox, all covered by God's amazing grace. A special toll-free 800 number is made available so you can phone into the program. And now, here's the founder and president of the National Christian Network, Ray Cassis.
Seems like the news media today really likes to talk about what is going to happen next, where the bomb is going to be exploded. In fact, even right here in Central Florida, where this telecast is transmitting from, we are considered to be in one of the prime target areas in the United States to be blown up. Our position right here in this studio pretty much is about midway, well, a little west of midway, between the Patrick Air Force Base of the Eastern Test Range of the United States Air Force and, of course, the Patrick Air Force Station and the Kennedy Space Center, loaded with the ability to launch the shuttle and all of that sort of thing. So if the enemy were to really use a nuclear-type explosion, I suppose this chair would be one of the prime areas to target, and then you'd knock out both the Eastern Test Range of the Air Force and the Kennedy Space Center and all of the NASA activity out here in Cape Canaveral. How does that make you feel, Pastor? Of course, you don't think it's going to happen anyway.
I think I'm ready to go back to Arkansas.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome to our program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Ray.
Every time we have you on, we really get a lot of interesting response, and we appreciate your support of NCN and coming down every so often as you do.
It's a pleasure, and we're proud to be a part of the NCN family. It's just when we serve Christ, when we bring forth His Word, then God blesses, and I feel that He has, and He's certainly blessed our connection with, and as our programs are aired on this network, and we're just so proud to be a part of it. It's always a pleasure, Ray.
Well, Pastor Murray, you don't believe that the nuclear holocaust is going to take place, so you should feel kind of comfortable sitting here in this target chair.
I really do.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's good that Christians have their mettle tested occasionally. Do we believe God, or do we believe the news media? And I'm not coming down on the news media by any means whatsoever.
Right.
But as a Christian, we should believe God's Word totally and completely. You don't partly believe. You either do or you don't. You're either a believer or you're not. And as a scholar of God's Word, the Word does not allow a nuclear holocaust. It is not there. God created this earth to be inhabited, not to be void, which this is Isaiah chapter 45, verse 18. He stated, I formed this earth. I created it to be inhabited by my people. So God also states that vengeance belongeth to Him. When it's time for that day of God's wrath, it will not be man pushing a button that brings it to pass. There are many trails throughout God's Word that declares there shall not be. Number one, let's take the negative, if we may, for a moment. Okay? Satan is the prince of the air, and he's the prince of this world at this time. He's the prince of darkness. Certainly, if anyone was going to instigate something so evil as a nuclear holocaust, it would be Satan. But what do you do then? You go to God's Word and check the M.O. of Satan, his method of operation. When he tempted the Lord Jesus Christ, what method did he use? He said, Christ, if you don't straighten up, I'm going to blow this earth all to pieces. No, Satan didn't say that. He said, I want to be the king of this earth. In Matthew 4, he took him to an exceeding high mountain.
Right.
And he said, look at the beauty of this earth. The nations, fall down and worship me, and I'll give you all of it. So you see, number one, Satan wants to be a king of a world. That's been he wants to be God of a world right from the beginning, if you would even, okay? So therefore, we see in this, Satan, let's say were there a nuclear holocaust with the present warheads that the superpowers have pointed at each other along with their allies. If half of them were exploded, compare this very small bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. Right. Look at the pictures, the after effects of that very small bomb, and multiply that to the end of being. For the simple reason, not only this area, but all areas of any size or proportion would be wiped out, but there would be enough atomic radiation circling this globe and fallout that it would sterilize every living being, both man and beast. It would destroy this earth age. God's Word simply does not say that's how it's going to happen. So
all these weapons are going to stay in place until the Lord returns, and then, or what? How do you see? I mean, obviously they're there. There are buttons that can be pushed.
Yes, and actually, let's address that then. What does God's Word say concerning the end time, just prior to His return? In Matthew 24, God said, when He was asked by the apostles, Lord, tell us when this end's going to be, and how it shall be, and what shall happen. And Christ says, take heed lest some man blow you off the face of the earth. No, Christ didn't say that. He said, take heed lest someone deceive you. So then we come to the truth of the matter. And Ray, Christians must believe that word. He said, when you hear of wars and rumors of wars, don't worry. The end's not there. But when you hear peace, 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 peace. And even this very day, as we're recording this, or it's being put live, I'm sorry. There were talks between Schultz and Gromyko. Right. Beginning that detente, those peace talks. How can we rest assured there will be no war? Because God says there will not be. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 states, when you need not even worry about the seasons, for they will cry peace, peace, peace. That being the opposite of war. Then shall come destruction, which is to say the wrath of God, not an atomic bomb. So, according to Ezekiel 38 and 39, there will come a time that the cities will be unwalled, which simply means we will be at peace. It's God's plan. Revelation 13:1 declares, I observed. This is God stating it will happen. You can count on it. God said it. It's going to come to pass. I observed from 7 continents. And I'm transliterating now as I go. Okay, I observed from 7 continents 10 rulers take hold and established a one-world peace system. He didn't say maybe this is going to happen. So at this time, and as a matter of fact in the very near future, all atomic bombs will supposedly be destroyed. And I say supposedly for a reason. Apparently, that Rush, that prince of Meshach, Russia will not destroy all theirs. I know this will be unpopular coming at this time, but it's God's Word. It's going to happen this way. And it's time Christians realize that they must believe God's Word. We're in those end times when, why be uncomfortable? Why frighten your children with the media of movies showing great Holocaust? God states it shall not happen. And so ever so many places in His Word. We could go into how the final battle will be fought. It won't be fought by man. God states when Gog and Magog, and in the Hebrew manuscripts it's simply Rosh, R-O-S-H, Rosh. Now, happened a tribe by the Volga. But later it was translated to Rush, R-U-S-S, and today Russia. Right. And God bless the Christians there. I'm not talking against Christians there or anything else. It's Scripture. It's going to happen that way. So at that time they will come against us. But in Ezekiel 39, God doesn't say, America, fire an atomic bomb so they'll know how great America is. God said, I shall knock his bow from his hand. I shall stop him in an open field. There won't be one soul hurt. In an open field, that means no city. God shall knock him from the air. The weapons that shall be used to bring about the great wrath are hailstones, earthquakes, in other words, God's own nature. God does not need the atomic bomb, nor will he allow it. For his kingdom shall be established upon this earth at the end of the millennium. And it shall be rejuvenated, yes, but he will not allow. How do I know that? He states he wants the credit for destroying his enemies so that we would be great. No, so that the heathen, that enemy, would know that atheism was not de facto salvation, but that they must know him, God. They must put him back in their nation and worship him. For they will see his almighty power, not the power of some nuclear missile. That would prove nothing. And God does it whereby the heathen will know that he is God. A Christian can write that in your tablet. He can go to sleep well tonight and sleep good, for that's how it shall happen, just as God has said it would.
I don't know why, but so many times when the scripture is quoted, there shall be wars and rumors of wars, that always seems to imply by some preachers that the little skirmishes we see taking place, for example, in Central America or down in, well, we have, of course, a real problem in South Africa and places like that, where there's always imminent wars.
Yes.
And but you actually are talking about wars and rumors of wars, meaning really a major type discussion of war.
Right. In a sense, we have major discussion today. We have tension all over the world.
Right.
In the Middle East, we have this tension, and if you were to put it all together, well, let's take between Iran and Iraq today.
Right.
To see the bodies that are stacked on those front lines when they're really going at it is blood, like hundreds of thousands of people in the last 4 years have lost their lives there. And the rumors continue that the conflict continues. But this is biblical also. It's Daniel chapter 11, that prophecy coming to pass, that Seleucid and the Ptolemaic kingdoms, the north and the south. You can check it. It's passing. It's coming to pass exactly as it is written. And again, God in control. But those rumors, even they, of war shall cease when the great one-worldism, the great peace treaty, shall be signed in the very near future. And we will go into that one-world control. That Antichrist shall arrive when it receives a deadly wound. There's a day coming soon when this peace treaty is almost a reality, de facto. The superpowers, I have no doubt, will have an abrupt split, and it will seem like this is the day that was. All right? And then presto, a supernatural entity shall appear on the scene and heal the wound of that one world political system. And then we will continue into that bliss of world peace.
Of course, you're talking about steps in the prophetic lineup. And actually, your broadcast, Shepherd's Chapel, really centers around these issues in prophecy. And I think that's why it's so popular among our many viewers that comment about your program.
I think that the only security that we can have in this world today is in Christ and God's prophecy. There's no need in worrying. God's in control. He said to his children concerning Babel in Revelation 18, before that great destruction, he said, my people, come out of her,
right,
so that you're not harmed. So why? In other words, the world is not going to be destroyed. God is going to destroy Babylon. It shall happen, in my opinion, in 2 geographical locations, which need not go into it this time.
Okay.
But it will only destroy the enemy. None of his children shall be hurt that come out of that confusion. And it is real sad when we see Christians, Bible believers, that would fall into the world controversy between Satan and Christ, especially Satan's controversy of false information, and be concerned. And I'd like to clarify something, if I may, Ray.
Sure.
Am I saying do away with America's missiles today? Absolutely not. That would be foolish. God's in control. We must, as long as we're facing and squaring off against an atheistic nation, we must have the bigger stick, or at least a stick as big, because that's the language that an atheist understands. And by that I mean an atheistic government controlled by and wishing to take over the world and take away the privileges and the religious freedoms that Christians must have to function. But certainly we should keep our missiles. But there is a time coming, and I would not be surprised that even as early as this Wednesday night, that there is not an address made that will have some very encouraging news for students of Bible prophecy. They're going to be very comforted by it.
What do you think that's going to be?
I think we're going to see favorable moves made toward peace talks. Now, I don't want to cause someone to be disappointed because one worldism de facto doesn't happen, but look past the first of the year. We weren't talking even. That was, and now we're talking. And you're going to see, it's time, it is time biblically for the peace to talk. And I'm certainly, a Christian should never look down upon anyone because the world peace movement is coming into being. It's of God. He said it would happen.
Well, now, your position on the Scriptures concerning the events that would take place, let's say, after, let's say, this false peace is established. I believe, if I'm correct, that you feel the church will go through the tribulation period. Is that correct?
The tribulation of Antichrist, not the tribulation of God.
Okay, now, that's right. You have a different position on that. I've got to pull that out from you tonight. The tribulation of Antichrist is what?
The tribulation of Antichrist is that one that is spoken of in Matthew chapter 24, where Christ teaching, and also Mark 13, he said, this is the way it's going to be. He said, when you see the abomination of the desolator, it is translated desolation, a thing rather than an entity, but if you go back to Daniel, you have no problem at all in finding in the Hebrew, even a simple Strong's Concordance will document it. This is why Moffat translates standing where he ought not, because it's desolator, an individual, not a condition, you see. Christ said, he shall stand in Jerusalem. He's going to take some of these workers in the field. He's going to lift them away. This Antichrist, you see. He said, my return is going to be just like it was in the days of Noah. They're going to be giving and taking in marriage. And I think he means it in a spiritual sense, because they were giving in marriage to the Nephilim, the fallen angels. Satan and his angels are going to fall to this earth. Christ is our husband. Our wedding should take place then, but I assure you there's going to be a wedding, a false wedding, that if people are not scholarly enough to understand, if the Spirit doesn't touch them and lead them, if they don't study God's Word, it's to believe and let the Spirit lead. But you've got to listen to God's Word, not the word of man. Then Christ said, after this tribulation shall I return. Makes it very clear that he shall return after that tribulation, not until. So that tribulation of Antichrist shall be first. What is that tribulation? An atomic bomb? Of course not. Satan wants people to worship him, and if he had the people of the earth destroyed, all he would be God over would be a rubbish heap. Yeah, but a nuclear waste.
But you mentioned a false wedding. I've never heard that quoted before. Are you saying that the false church will attend a false wedding of Antichrist and think that he is the Messiah? Or are you talking about the true church, the called-out body of believers, attending or possibly being deceived to attend a false wedding of the Lamb?
Ray, this is known as the apostasy. Christ says, I shall become a stumbling block to many. Their own Christianity will be a stumbling block if they do not know the difference in the Christ, the spurious Christ and the true Christ. The true Christ said, I'm not coming back until after some of you are taken in. He even went one step further. He said, when I come back as husband, if I find some of you with, woe to those that I find with child and giving suck. What does this mean? He lowered it into a language anyone can understand, or should be able to. You've been unfaithful. You wed out of season. You didn't wait for the true husband to return.
Well, I never heard that before.
Well, many people feel that, I know motherhood today, they read that Mark 13 and Luke 21 and Matthew 24, woe to those that are with child when I return and give suck. And God blessed man and told him to go forth and replenish the earth, and birth of a child is the most beautiful thing. It's not a curse. Mm-hmm. But, as he said, it shall be in the days of Noah. If your husband is Antichrist and his fallen angels, please don't take this literal. I appeal to you not to. It's spiritual, beloved, that many will be wed out of season. Our true husband, and I speak now in a spiritual sense, is Christ. This is why Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, he said, I want to talk to you real serious for a moment. I know in the English it says foolish. He says, I want to talk to you from the heart. I want to present you to Christ as a chaste virgin, not as Eve, who was beguiled, expatio, wholly seduced by Satan. You see, mm-hmm. Satan will try it again in a spiritual sense. And the Christian must not take part in that apostasy.
Well, I can possibly see where you're coming from as far as the false wedding, but where does the child come into play here? What is that? Is that a manifestation of the false wedding?
No, as again, I'm speaking in a spiritual sense.
In a spiritual sense.
Right, Christ, and okay, in a spiritual sense, yes. It's that church, that body, that many-membered body put together mm-hmm. out of season. And you know what should frighten...
They wouldn't be the elect then, would they?
No. They're the deceived ones.
The deceived ones.
Right. I would think that Matthew 25 would concern many people because the 11th hour is right at the end. There were 10 virgins. 5 of them had enough oil to go to that wedding. That oil is olive oil when you translate it properly, which is symbolic of the truth that we're to have in our lamps, which is the light that we let shine forth with the truth. And if you don't have enough of that truth from God's Word to sustain you, you're going to fall. Does it mean you're going to hell? Of course not. The millennium is the time of teaching. But they're going to be sorely disappointed, and there will be those that will come to Christ, that body, that particular body, and say, Jesus, we cast out devils in your name and healed.
Right.
And he says, you go away from me. I don't know you. In other words, they were called on by the wrong Christ. That's why Yeshua, Messiah, didn't know them.
Okay, what about the scripture that says that Satan would deceive the very elect if it were possible? Is it possible for our brothers and sisters tuned in tonight, given all the conditions that you gave, to be falsely wed, if you will, to the Antichrist?
God's elect were chosen before the foundations of the earth, mm-hmm. in the world that was. He said, I chose you before the Kabbalah. That means the first rebellion of Satan. God chose those elect there. They're living today. Mm-hmm. He will intercede in their lives, but it is impossible, for it is written in Romans chapter 8, he said, I judged you there. I justified you there, so I'll intercede in your life here because you don't even know what to pray for. God, meaning my prophecy is going to come to pass by the people I chose there that overcame mm-hmm. to fulfill it. The Christian that is in free will today, that is to say, that did not overcome there. That is to say, when the soul was with the Father at the first rebellion. That Christian today, I kind of got us off on another curve here, didn't I? That Christian today can take part in that apostasy. That's what Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians so adequately, where he was addressing, please, I want to talk to you about Jesus coming back to this earth, that you're not deceived by my first letter or any other letter. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen until the church, the apostasy, which means many will give up their professed belief in one day. Why? That warning of Jesus, not that you're going to die by an atomic bomb, mm-hmm. but that you're going to be deceived. For he said, that one shall stand, that son of perdition, Apalia, one of Satan's names, will stand in the temple claiming to be God. Now, he didn't say maybe this is going to happen. He said it would happen.
Would happen, right.
And much of the church will follow him. This doesn't mean the church is destroyed. God's a God of love. It means they're going to be like poor old Job. Job said, I'm righteous. I've lived it. And finally God, after 38 chapters of talk by man, God finally says, Job, where were you the day I formed this earth? Where were you when I water the animals in the desert that man never sees? In other words, God has an overall plan from the world that was. Job wasn't looking that far. When Satan confronted Job, as in the beginning of Job, Satan and the angels appeared before the throne, and God said, go get him if you think you can. Job was a type of us today. He's going to say to Satan, go get them if you think you can touch them. They're Christians. We'll see how many Christians remain Christians.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Murray, for being my guest tonight. Folks, we've been listening to Pastor Arnold Murray from the Shepherd's Chapel television broadcast, and we have him live in our studio here tonight. And I wonder what your reaction is to what we've been discussing tonight. We have to take a break right now. We'll be coming back in just about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then we're going to open up our telephone lines, and we invite you to participate in this program tonight. Do you believe what Pastor Murray is saying? Perhaps you have a question, or a spiritual or scriptural challenge, or some sort of clarification that you'd like. Call us. We'll be right back in about a minute and a half. Stay with us. This is Amazing Grace on the National Christian Network.
There's more to follow with Ray.
Talking about the nuclear holocaust, or whether or not we'll ever have one. What's your reaction to what you've been hearing? Any questions, any comments, any challenges? Our telephone lines are toll-free, and they're on your screen right now. If you let the phone ring until we answer it, we'll be very, very happy to hear from you tonight on this special broadcast of Amazing Grace. Pastor Arnold Murray, my guest, and it's, as always good to have you here.
Pleasure, Ray, being here.
Let's go to our phones. Good evening. You're on the air.
Happy New Year, Ray.
Hi. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year, Pastor Murray.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
I agree with Pastor Murray on everything in regards to prophecy and the end time, and I do believe in the mid-trib coming of the Lord because of 2 Thessalonians, where it says the Son of Perdition must be revealed before these things come to pass, which is 2.5 years after he makes the peace with Israel. But what I called about was Pastor Murray's stance on the different races. I've heard him before, and I never was able to get through.
Oh, okay.
And I believe what Pastor Murray was referring to, and God said, let the waters... I'm sorry, I should give you what it is. It's Genesis 1:20. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that have life and fowl that may be above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And life in the Strong's Concordance is soul. Is that right, Pastor Murray?
That is correct.
Okay, is that where you find a race being created?
Actually, we know that God gives nephesh, soul, to only human beings. Now, of course, and I implied, is it possible? In other words, I asked the question, is it possible that this could be where the Oriental race was created? But there's no different in the mineral from the sea than the mineral from the soil. He took this mineral from the sea and created a man. It is ironic that they grow their wheat in water, where we grow our wheat on the plain, so to speak. But the important thing, anytime the different races comes up, I want to strive to make one thing very clear. On that day, before God took his rest, he looked at all that he had created. The man he created that was to hunt, and to the herbs and so forth. And it was good. And we know through Abraham meaning in the Hebrew tongue, the father of many nations. meaning Christ coming through this, that he would be the father of all nations, that he was to be a blessing to all nations. And certainly that blessing in Christ has come through to all nations.
Pastor Murray,
Yes.
I believe we are a triune being, spirit, soul, and body, and that God bred into the man of God, that God had created the spirit of God. Don't realize that the soul is interpreted the mind. A dog has a soul because it has a mind. It can think. It will bark. It will attack. It eats. It functions within its own realm. And it has a body which is the flesh. But God in us is spirit, not soul. The soul in us is our mind, our brain. The body we have is our flesh, our internal organs, our skin, and what have you. So when God breathed the soul into these sea animals and to the land animals, he breathed a mind into them. A trap that is caught once is very difficult to catch twice. He learns. A fish learns. You stick your hand in an aquarium and your finger, the fish know that that hand feeds them. That the fish come and nibble at your finger. They're looking for that food. They have a mind. They have flesh, but they don't have a spirit. Only man has a spirit. Adam was the first man, according to the Word of God, run through the storm ordinance that was created by God with a spirit. We are the descendants of Abraham, regardless of our color, regardless of our origin. In the New Testament, it refers to Greeks and Gentiles, and to the heathen, which is those who are not called out by the seed of Abraham. Now, Adam came through Seth, through the line of Seth, because Christ came through the line of Seth, which was the child of Adam. But we all are descendants of Adam, regardless of our race. And I think that everything I have ever heard you teach on has been on NCN. I have agreed basically with, other than your serpent doctrine, and this soul, because you forget we are a triune, like God is triune, like Christ is triune. Spirit, soul, and body. I do appreciate your prophecy teaching, because I search the scriptures to show myself approved, and I find, as you do, a mid-trib, a period of rapture. But as far as your serpent seed and your soul bit goes, I can't agree with you, but God bless you anyway.
Okay.
Thank you.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Northern California.
Northern California. I appreciate your call.
Thank you, Ray.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Good evening. You're on the air.
Hello, Brother Castle.
Yes.
I'm calling from Loch, Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
And I'd like to encourage you, brother, that there are plenty of people out listening to him, and I'm one of them.
Good.
I'd like to give him some encouragement in the Lord, and I agree with just about everything he says about the end time. And I have a question for him.
Okay.
About the mystery Babylon, which is thought of and spoken of in Revelation. And I was wondering if he would connect that with the World Council of Churches and as associated with Roman Catholicism in this end time.
Okay, what about Mystery Babylon?
Mystery Babylon is defined and explained very clearly in Revelation chapter 17, particularly. Her head is even given, he that was and is, but yet shall go in the pit. All know who that is. It's Satan, or Antichrist, whichever you prefer. That great city of Babylon consists of all people that ride upon the back of that 7-dominion, 10-headed, one-world peace system. Babylon, coming from the base root Babel, means confusion. It means that confusion or deception that Christ ever so clearly warned about staying away from. Let no man deceive you or confuse you. Babylon, that's why Babylon says, I'm a queen, I'm not a widow, because she marries before the true Christ comes. Woe to those, blessed be those that are barren when Christ does return. So it is simply that they take part in that brideship to this false Christ. Now, as far as specifics concerning the World Council of Churches, all denominations or non-denominational peoples that partake or sip her cup, her mingled cup, will be a part of Babylon. Naturally, God is in control in many of the movements, both religiously, economically, educationally, and politically. All four of these dynasties, so-called the hidden dynasties in the book of Zechariah, are being utilized by Satan, and God allows, to bring us into that position of Babylon. It states in that 17th chapter that this water that this system rises from are the peoples of the world, meaning all peoples of the world. It is possible that some religions will play a greater part than others in this, but never focus mentally on only one. Watch the overall picture and see that you're not deceived. Appreciate that question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Bye-bye now. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, Jack Moore of Merritt Island.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask the pastor about a couple of scriptures if he thinks there won't be a nuclear battle, and that's Matthew 24:22, which says, "And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened." Then we run over to 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and starting with about the 10th verse. "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be resolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversation? Looking for and hastening to the coming of the day of God, in which the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat." Can the pastor comment on those two verses, Matthew 24:21 and 2, and 2 Peter there, 3:10?
All right. Pastor Murray?
Thank you. Actually, let's take Matthew first, if we may, that except God had shortened these days. He's speaking of the shortening of the reign of Antichrist, not a shortening of time overall, which naturally this will shorten time overall. But what he's saying is this Antichrist, this deceptor, is going to be so very believable. In other words, he's going to bring peace to the world. He's going to make wheat weighing $5 a bushel, and that's a pun. Perhaps I should not say that. But in other words, he's going to make it so good for everybody, it's going to be very difficult to believe it's not the real thing. And except he had shortened the days, even some of the elect would begin to doubt, well, is this Antichrist or is it the true Christ? Because it is so good. For this one comes. It states that even the mother shall betray the daughter up to death. Now, what you know and I know, that physically no mother is going to deliver her daughter up to death, except spiritual death. If a mother believes that this Antichrist is the true Christ, and a daughter has studied her scriptures and knows that he is a fake, that he's a deceiver, the mother will go to that one if she believes he truly is Christ and say, "Jesus, save my daughter." She will deliver her up to him, deliver him up to death, because Satan is death. You see, that's one of his names. He is death. He brought death into the world. He brought death to Adam. So actually, we're not talking about saved from a Holocaust here. We're talking about saved from Satan, saved from deception. Now, let's go, if we may, to 2 Peter chapter 3. That's one of the most beautiful chapters in God's Word, for Peter is talking on such a level that few ever understand. No one would ever have to apologize for a geologist proving that this earth is millions of years old, when the so-called scholars say it's only 6,000 years old. For Peter, that's what he's saying in this chapter. He's talking about the three world ages. The same world, the same earth, the rets, terra firma. But three ages. That is to say, the age that was destroyed by water, and he wasn't talking about Noah's flood. It was Tuhu Vabuhu, that destruction that took place in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. And then he talks about the world that is at this present time. This world age now, that shall be destroyed, yes, by fire. But what is the fire he speaks of? Read Hebrews chapter 12, the very last verse in that chapter. God is a consuming fire. His Shekinah glory shall melt the wickedness and evilness from in front of him. At that time, in Revelation chapter 21, when he rejuvenates and replenishes this earth. But understand, this is a thing of renewing, of bringing in that new age. Understand where all flesh will be at that time, when that event takes place. All flesh will have been transformed to that spiritual body spoken of by Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 52. So, no, this is not a nuclear holocaust. This is God Himself, Almighty God, rejuvenating. I know that in Revelation chapter 21 it says there is a new earth. That's not what it says in the Greek. It's renewed, rejuvenated. The seas even dried up where there's fertile ground all around this beautiful globe. And that mist brought back over. No more storms, no more North Pole with ice, etc. But a beautiful climate, a heavenly climate, even on this earth at that time. He will melt it away and reform it. We will not be in a flesh body at that time whereby whatever method or means in His natural law are used to rejuvenate it, that it will harm one hair, or one spiritual hair, if I may say, on the head of any believer.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Murray. Pastor Murray, my guest tonight on Amazing Grace. Our telephone lines are open, and we welcome your telephone call if you have a participation in question or comment or reaction to what you've been hearing. Let's go back to our line. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yes, I have a question about...
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from?
Ohio.
Ohio.
Yes. I don't know if it's a symbol, but I had a question about Melchizedek. Who he is, if he was a being, if he was a symbol, or what the name means. You know, I'd like to have that cleared up.
Okay. Pastor Murray?
Okay, real good. Melchizedek, Melcha in the Hebrew means king. Zedek is the prime of, or is from Zadok, which is the just or the elect, the king of God's elect. That's all it says. That's all it is. It was Melchizedek that went out and met Abraham. It was Jesus that said to those who would not believe upon him, before Abraham was, I am. Jesus Christ, Yeshua Messiah, is the King of the just, the King of the elect, the King of all believers, regardless of what race, color, or creed, that believe upon Him and will follow and serve Him. But this is why, there's so much in that I am. Many people think that's a term. It's not. It's a name. Moses said, Lord, who do we call you? God, who do we call you? And he said, I am that I am. In the Hebrew, Isha Asha. Iya Asha Asha, which is to say, I am that I am. And the tetragrammaton of the sacred name, Yahweh, comes from that, you see. And that's what Jesus was saying when he said, before Abraham was, I am. So Melchizedek is simply the king of the just. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
Southern California.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. In excuse me just a minute. In Jeremiah, the 51st chapter, and the 20th verse, where it says, "Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms." I wonder if Pastor Murray believes that that is the true Israel, and will God use them in some way in the end times in a military way?
That's an interesting point.
I think that when we speak of how God will use His troops, and God has troops, and I believe in a sense this is what He was referring to even in that chapter. He will use them. But it's spoken of in Joel also. And it's a war that women must have the same weapons that the male must. For both shall participate in as much as it is a spiritual all-out war that both the sons and the daughters shall take place in. God prepares His soldiers. So therefore, a good general, and certainly there's none better than God, equips his troops with what they will need because he has scouted the enemy. Our enemy being Satan. He tells us in Ephesians through Christ, verse by Paul, you will put on the gospel armor. And I know many people preach sermon after sermon on the gospel armor. It's more than that, beloved. It's the actual armament and weapons for the final conflict for God's children, Israel, and those that believe from all peoples. It is that armor of faith, the helmet of salvation, all those tools to make a big show, to destroy, to corrupt, no, but to stand against Satan, Antichrist, and his fiery darts. For it is not a war of the arm, meaning the power, force, but of principalities in dark sayings from dark places. It is that one world peace system. Yes, dear one, He will use both sons and daughters in that battle at that time of Israel. And those kings and queens of the ethnos that come forward and will stand in that battle against Him, which is to say, allow the Holy Spirit to speak through them. And what a war that's going to be, because we know we already have the victory. Okay.
Just one more quick question, please.
Certainly. Go ahead.
In 2 Thessalonians 2:3, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed. I understand that the word that's translated as falling away is apostasia. Now, I've been told that Greek word can be translated departure and is so translated in other verses in the New Testament. If this be so, why could not this be referring to the rapture or the departure?
Right, the departure in 2 Thessalonians.
Well, inasmuch as the falling away, when you take it further yet, means from your professed belief, then to depart from your professed belief, you would end up in still the same. I understand your thought, and that's good. I appreciate that. You've done your homework, and certainly I'm not trying to discourage you. I want you to know that, dear sister. But consider the fact that the falling away from your professed belief, when you're truly in Christ, would be a negative force entailed there. That's just my opinion, but as you know, I will never try to shape. When someone is given a thought, you go with it. You go with it. I see what you're saying, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Bye-bye now. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening, Ray.
Hi.
This is Bob from Boston, Massachusetts.
From Boston, welcome.
Yes, first I'd like to say I really enjoy your program, NCN.
Well, thank you.
And I'd like to tell Pastor Murray that I enjoy his 2-minute prophetic message every Tuesday and Friday. Nowhere I feel that you can find a better interpretation of world events according to the prophecy in the Bible. My question, however, is on the Mark of the Beast tape. I own that, and I'd like to refer to Revelation 13, verse 11. Where it says, okay, now I understand that the first beast will be this one worldism political system, according to the Mark of the Beast tape.
Yes.
And the verse 11 is, "And then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon." I'd like to know if the religious figure of the Pope, with a constant peace, his position on peace, and the Vatican, would he have anything to do with the second beast coming out of the earth? And if he can't give us that information over the air, can I look forward to that confidential information in his prophetic message as the time shall? I'll hang up and I'll wait for his answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're good. Actually, in this particular verse, you want to watch your Greek in it very closely, especially in the following 2 verses. Let's just say 12 and 13. For we see there that he is supernatural. Now, to place a supernatural label upon a world leader, it won't work, you see. But at the same time, I'm not taking away from what you have said, because all people that are deceived, whether they be religious, political, etc., become a part of that system. So the fact that he has 2 horns, it looks like a lamb. It looks like Jesus Christ slain, is what is being said. But it's the dragon coming out of him. The dragon is simply a name of Satan, one of his names, such as even as Antichrist. How do I know that? Revelation chapter 20. The devil, Satan, that old serpent, who is the devil, the dragon, rather. So we see that he is a play actor, and he plays many roles. And certainly, when his influences touch world leaders, certainly they play into his hand. There is a conspiracy. Thank you for your comment on the... we do have a telephone number in our office that people call in. We have a rotary wire service. And they can dial this number, and they have a little 3-minute message from me, changed twice weekly, about actual current events. And it's listed in the newsletter, rather, at times. I appreciate your comments very much.
Okay, we're running rapidly out of time, and our telephone lines are jammed. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello, Mr. Gaston. Good evening, Pastor Murray, calling from Boston.
Yes.
I just want to make a comment on the part about, he was talking about Israel and America being part of the tribe of Manasseh, England, Ephraim, and the lady commented about the different races and being part of Israel, but I would like to say, me being a black person, Pastor Murray and this group has really blessed my life. And in Revelation chapter 21 or chapter 20, I believe it states that the kings from the different nations shall come in and give their glory to the temple therein. So if all was Israel, why would he have nations which is ethnos in the Greek? And I just want to make that statement and have a nice day.
Okay, same to you. Thank you for calling. What about that statement, Pastor Murray?
It's a wonderful statement, and I appreciate those comments very much. I'm sure I know who this gentleman is. He's been in our building and at the chapel. And there's one thing. Just because races are mixed, please, you've never heard me mention a word of hate towards any individual. I love all people. Because I could not be a Christian did I not love all people. So it is true that different people have different functions in God's plan. We're not the way we are for no reason at all. God loves everyone, but we do have obligations, and where this gentleman has mentioned, even in the eternity, is what we're speaking of in Revelation chapter 21, verses 23 through 24, I believe it is. Here is Israel inside those walls, but here are the kings and queens of the nations. They even have their own kings in the eternity to come and worship God with the children, all being children in God. God bless you. I appreciate that call very much.
Pastor Murray, I wish we had longer, but because of scheduling, we are out of time, and here you've come all this way. Would you come back real soon and be with us again?
If I'd love to, and if we have alleviated any anxiety from any young person's heart on the so-called Holocaust that's being spoken of, sleep good, children of God.
Our telephone lines are jammed. If you'd want to continue to call, Pastor Murray will be in the studio live for a few more minutes. We'll put him in touch with you. We do want you to call in. We have to go. We're out of time. This